EES, which is pronounced EASE, is an acronym for Engineering Equation Solver. In the last few videos we talked about using property functions in EASE, and these functions all returned a single property. But in many problems we're going to need a whole bunch of properties that are all at the same state, and that requires that we call several property functions. In the video entitled Real Fluid Property Example, we modeled this vapor compression refrigeration cycle, and it had 4 state points. The resulting EASE code is shown here, and what you'll notice is that at each state point we required multiple properties that were all fixed in the same way, and so we had to call several property functions each time. For example, here state 4 is fixed by temperature and quality, and we used these indicators to call the properties entropy, pressure, and enthalpy. So this video introduces a property procedure called RealThermoProps, which differs from property functions. Because it's a procedure rather than a function, it can return multiple property values in a single call, rather than a single property value. The calling protocol for RealThermoProps is shown here. The first 3 arguments ought to look familiar to you. The procedure requires as inputs the name of the fluid in a string, and then 2 specified property values with their property indicators in order to fix the state. And this is the same way that any of the real fluid property functions have worked. However, notice the call statement that precedes the procedure name. Procedures do not return a single value in the same way that functions do, but rather they return multiple values that are all placed in this output list that follows the colon. So the RealThermoProps procedure returns as outputs the temperature T, pressure P, specific volume V, specific enthalpy H, specific entropy S, the specific internal energy U, and then quality, and it does that in this order. The procedure provides a coding shortcut that requires the user to enter many fewer lines of code into the equations window in order to determine multiple property values at a single state. So if we return to this example, the 3 lines of code that correspond to setting the values of S4, P4, and H4 can be replaced here by a single call to the procedure RealThermoProps. You'll notice that the values for EASE variables T4 and X4 have already been set before the procedure is called, and EASE recognizes that these 2 outputs, T4 and X4, are the same as the inputs, and therefore it does not try to reassign them, which would introduce an error. The RealThermoProps procedure can be entered also using the function information dialog in the options menu, as with any of the other property functions. And you'll notice that entering a state specification, so here in square brackets 4 in this box, will apply that specification automatically to every EASE variable in the example box. The text within the example window here can be edited however you'd like, and again, if you hit the paste button, it'll paste the resulting procedure call this time into the equations window. It's not necessary to provide EASE variables for each of the outputs, so if you have outputs that you don't want to be returned, you can eliminate them by just leaving those spots blank in the output list. So for example, here I don't really want specific internal energy or specific volume, and therefore if I just eliminate those variables from the output list but leave that spot in the list blank, then EASE won't return those properties and I don't have to worry about them. So we can use this RealThermoProps procedure for all of the other states in the cycle and eliminate unnecessary calls then to the property functions. And the result of this is a much shorter and much cleaner EASE program that required many fewer lines as shown here. This is one of a series of tutorials meant to describe the operation of the EASE software. If you'd like to get more information about EASE, obtain the software, or access more of these tutorials, please go to the website fchart.com. These tutorials are excerpted from the book Mastering EASE, which can also be obtained from the FChart website.